Welcome to Anything You Want. If you follow celebrity lives with the same hunger we do, make sure to subscribe, press the bell, leave a comment, and, if you want to support our coverage even more, click the join button to back the channel. Now, a story that began as a promise and ended in an envelope. For months the public admired what appeared to be a steadfast partnership, two rising stars, united by shared ambitions and whispered plans for joint projects, had cultivated an image of certainty that few dared to doubt. Yet, behind closed doors and beneath the ribbon of carefully staged photographs, a single sealed document arrived that would unmake the narrative they had so painstakingly constructed. According to multiple insiders who have spoken to those within the couple's immediate circle, Gökberk Yıldırım procured a DNA test in secrecy, a choice that, until the moment the results were read, nobody outside his closest confidants understood would reframe everything. Those present described the instant the envelope was opened as cinematic and ruinous in equal measure. Expressions that had held composure seconds earlier unraveled into a constellation of disbelief, fury, and an acute, visible despair. For a long stretch of time following that discovery, Gökberk retreated from the world, calls went unanswered, professional obligations were abandoned at the last minute, and a silence descended, fertile ground for rumor and conjecture. The quiet did not soothe matters. It inflamed them, prompting the kind of speculation tabloids and talk shows feast upon. When he finally confronted Cemre Arda, the encounter reportedly unfolded like a slow, painful public unburdening. Witnesses call it one of the tensest exchanges they have observed in recent memory. Tears, reproachful pauses, and sentences that dissolved into raw, unprocessed emotion marked that meeting. Cemre insisted, repeatedly and with visible conviction, that the intimacy and memories they had accumulated were not reducible to laboratory findings. She pleaded that the heart's testimony carried a weight science could not measure. Gökberk, however, conveyed a different calculus, one in which trust, once ruptured in a particular way, could no longer sustain the architecture of a shared life. It is not merely a matter of feeling, but of how we can proceed honestly, he is said to have told those nearby, words that signaled an irrevocable turning. The decision that followed was not a melodramatic public rupture but rather a quiet, sorrow-laden separation, a farewell exchanged with mutual pain and an acknowledgement that love, however sincere, can be overwhelmed by other considerations. Friends report Gökberk left devastated and resolute, convinced that continuing would amount to cohabiting with an intolerable uncertainty. Cemre, for her part, collapsed under the shock. The future she had openly discussed and imagined now seemed to dissolve in front of her. Social media reacted with a bifurcated fervor. Many rallied to Gökberk's side, framing his choice as an agonizing but principled stand for personal clarity, while others defended Cemre, calling for measured respect and reminding commentators that the inner workings of relationships remain largely unknowable. The episode catalyzed an industry-wide conversation. Entertainment outlets framed the split as a seismic emotional event in contemporary Turkish show business, and panelists spent hours parsing motives, moralities, and what the episode might mean for both careers. Speculation proliferated around the origin of the test itself. Some suggested external pressures played a role in bringing the matter to light, while others proposed that Gökberk pursued the answer knowing it could alter his life irreversibly. None of these conjectures has been verified, and both principals have maintained a public silence that has only intensified curiosity. Voices from their circle attempted to fill the vacuum with context and condolence. Enes Özdemir, a mutual friend seen at their wedding who has long-standing ties to both, broke his own reticence, lamenting the implosion of a love he had watched take shape. "I witnessed them building something step by step," he told reporters, his tone threaded with sorrow. His appeal, as much as a statement, was for empathy rather than judgment. Other confidants offered complementary but divergent snapshots. Associates of Cemre emphasize her grief and plea for privacy, while those close to Gökberk describe a man tormented by doubt, one who measured the costs of remaining and concluded that separation, painful as it was, represented the only honest path. What remains unresolved is the long-term effect this rupture will exert on their personal lives and professional trajectories. Will wounds close with time, enabling reconciliation or civil cooperation, or has the revelation created an impassable boundary? Currently both performers have opted for a discreet, private approach to healing, Gökberk by leaning into his family and his work, Cemre by attempting to present a composed front to her followers even as she shoulders profound personal loss. For observers, the case functions less as an open and shut narrative than as a cautionary tableau about the interplay of truth, trust, and the fragile economies of celebrity intimacy. Before we end, we want to hear from you. Where do your sympathies lie in this painful chapter? With the person who sought certainty at great cost, or with the one who finds herself judged by a public that lacks full knowledge of the private? Which Turkish figures would you like us to cover next, and what angles interest you most? Career aftermaths, legal consequences, or human stories of recovery? Tell us in the comments below. If you value the reporting you see here, remember to subscribe to Anything You Want, press the notification bell so you don't miss updates, like the video, and write your opinions in the comments. Your voice shapes our coverage. If you'd like to support us further and receive member-only perks, click Join to help us keep sourcing and telling these stories. Thank you for reading this report. We at Anything You Want will continue to follow developments closely and bring you verified updates as they emerge. Stay with us for the next installment of this story and other exclusive insights from the intersection of fame and private life.